Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is kind of first flash live. I didn't expect to go on live tonight, but I'm getting sick of the bullshit. Plain and simple, hit the like button as you come in. Don't give any derogatory statements. How long has the trustees known they've been in debt up to their asses? How long has Tiffany Henyard? Bonjour, French wrench. How long has everybody known they've been in debt up to their asses? Well, let's take a look-see at the last financial meeting.
Okay. Overall revenue is about 1.1 million above.
Wyoming. Uh-oh. We're kind of buffering, aren't we? Why are you buffering? Yeah, little bastard. Where'd it go? Why are you buffering?
Okay. Overall revenue is about 1.1 million above prior year from a overall revenue standpoint.
What page is that on? Still page?
Steve, you can't even keep up. You're not in finance. You can't keep up with anything. This is from 2023, the last taped financial meeting.
Overall revenue.
Officials. Bless us to put the people first.
Have the important things covered. So I'm going to go into our general fund, which would be on page 15. If we're looking at it digital, I'm sorry, if you printed it out, it's on page 15. 18 if you're looking at it on a digital device, showing the general fund having a deficit of $189,593 for the month. However, fiscal year to date, the general fund has a surplus, $932,281. So I'll pause there for a moment. I know this was not a month that we did not receive our property taxes, so the deficit is not unexpected, but I would ask Chris if you can kind of highlight any items that the board or the community should know about.
So the deficit is not unexpected. Potato, how is Mrs. Potato? And what did you have for dinner this evening? Okay, so the deficit is not unexpected. 2023. Right. Let's go to February of 2023 because I found this very interesting. You know, that shit show at the Thornton Township meeting has really got me going. Steak. Potato, I love you. Oh, my goodness. Here we go.
Surface to repair the pool. Hopefully this board of trustees don't take it out for the fifth time. I've been trying to get the pool up and running, especially with the new year, because people like a new year, new you, right? Go to Gloria Taylor, which is located in Harvey. I know many of you will not probably go there, so please come out on February 28th. No matter if it's snowing or raining, call us, we'll pick you up so you can make sure you execute the code.
This is an attempt to either gaslight or put.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I want to commend Public Works as far as the things that as a trustee to kind of respond to stuff that I need or some residents, not what I need, residents need. and trees get cut, especially on our side of town. So I come in, I see the work that's being done. Also, I know they're still waiting on the contract and stuff over there, so I know that hopefully that's in the works. And that's the end of my report. Thank you.
All right, next we have fire, trustee Belcher. She's not here, so next we have youth, trustee Norwood.
Let's get to it.
The finances right now, the month of May,
meeting next month where I have a huge announcement for the youth. And I have an update regarding the land bank. And I'll have the housing committee meeting next month so I can inform the residents regarding the update and land bank. Thank you, Mayor.
All right, next we have finance, trustee House.
thank you, Mayor. I have to say this, and I want to try to bring it. We start the meetings off with prayer, and praise God and everything else. And then after the meeting starts, comes chaos. And I'm bringing that up to try to revisit that spirit that we start the meeting with before we get into the agenda, because I hope my report is received in the manner that it's intended. Having said that, we come in here every month. Our financial report right now, some of the biggest fight, I think Trustee Steve alluded to it. The finances right now, the month of May through the month of December, the deficit that I'm looking at, I'm gonna say this is on page 17 of the financial report, that was just page 15 of the financial report that was given to us this morning. It's $5.8 million. That's the concern I bring.
Yeah, that is a concern, isn't it? February 2023, $5 million deficit. Is that what he just said? Is that what he just said? Jason House.
Chaos. And I'm bringing that up to try to revisit that spirit that we start the meeting with before we get into the agenda, because I hope my report is received in the manner that it's intended. Having said that, we come in here every month. Our financial report right now, some of the biggest fight, I think Trustee Steve alluded to it. The finances right now, the month of May through the month of December, the deficit that I'm looking at, I'm gonna say this is on page 17 of the financial report, that was just page 15 of the financial report that was given to us this morning. It's $5.8 million. That's
$5.8 million. You lying sack of shits. You see right there, regular board meeting, February 6th, 2023. Jason House just said there's a $5 million deficit. So why are you bringing in Lori Lightfoot for that fiasco of a report that you're going to pay over $30,000 for? Because you can pay Lori Lightfoot $30,000, but then you have to pay for all the clerks, all the filings, the other lawyers, right? You knew in 2023, you had a deficit of over $5 million. If you in the back of the room, you lying sacks of shits.
Inform the residents regarding the update and land bank. Thank you, Mayor.
All right, next we have finance, trustee House.
Thank you, Mayor. I have to say this, and I want to try to bring it. We start the meetings off with prayer, and praise God and everything else. And then after the meeting starts, comes chaos. And I'm bringing that up to try to revisit that.
And that's why I never put you people pledging allegiance to the flag or prayer.
Spirit that we start the meeting with before we get into the agenda, because I hope my report is received in the manner that it's intended. Having said that, we come in here every month. our financial report right now, some of the biggest fight, I think Trustee Steve alluded to it. The finances right now, in the month of May through the month of December, the deficit that I'm looking at, I'm gonna say this is on page 17 of the financial report, that was just page 15 of the financial report that was given to us this morning, it's $5.8 million.
$5.8 million deficit in 2023. And you bring in Lori Lightfoot with this weak ass final report that said nothing. Nothing. No doubt they knew. Bringing in Lightfoot was a ploy and possible campaign interference to ensure Henyard is not reelected. They all knew. They have known it for years. Let's not even talk about the bonds and the city of Chicago. And don't forget that little $4 million payment that you got to pay off for water, for meters, correct? When Riley Rogers was in there. Don't forget you got to pay that $4 million back this year. But let's go on to your 2022 finance.
18 if you're looking at
So as you stated, we are going to be getting our real estate taxes. We'll start seeing those monies coming in February, March, April. So right now, from a cash flow standpoint, we'll be relying heavily on our state revenues and our collections in the payment center. Based on what I'm seeing from a budgeted revenue, I do anticipate us meeting our property tax revenue budget, which is on page 10 electronically and 7 if you're looking at a hard copy. So I do anticipate us getting our full amount that we budgeted for property tax revenue.
Okay.
Now, we did have some higher increases, especially in our sales and use, our state sales use and state income taxes. The one I want to focus on is our state income tax. We are about $390,000 above what we were last year, which is about a 23% increase. I bring that up because at the beginning of the fiscal year, we had talked that the governor was going to decrease the allotment to the various municipalities. So we were going to potentially lose some of that money. That did not come to pass, which is why we have a lot more revenue than we anticipated.
What page is that on?
State revenues are on page 10 if you're looking at it electronically, page 7 if it's a hard copy. So we received in state income tax revenue $2,075,000.
Why the hell is Ed Steve on a finance committee? Why? He can't keep up. Continuously asking, what page? Where do I see that? How did you come up with that?
Compared to last year, $1,685,000.
$2 million. So you said 700,000.
$2,075,000. It's the first line under intergovernmental revenues.
Okay.
Quite a bit compared to last year, but we do have quite a decrease in other licenses, which that is because in prior years, a lot of the licenses, they were for standard business licenses, were being charged to other licenses instead of business licenses, which is why we're having that difference. Now we are properly charging them to the right GL line on them, which is why that account's a little higher. Okay. Overall revenue is about 1.1 million above prior year from a overall revenue standpoint.
What page is that on? Still
That
so
would-
page?
Overall revenue is on page 11 electronically, page 8 if looking at a hard copy. So overall revenue current year is 14.3 million compared to last year of 13 million. So we've received about 64% of what we budgeted in revenue. Does anyone have questions on the revenue?
No questions on revenue.
Okay. Then expenditures. As I stated in November's one item, I do want to note we are showing for the month of December, we're having quite a few negative expenditures within the financials for December's activity. Now, as I stated in November's financials, when we did the conversion, there was a duplicate expense posting of that October 4th warrant list. I have corrected it in these financials, which is why we're showing a negative revenue for quite a few accounts. Is because I reversed out those expenses that were duplicate reported. Does that make sense to everyone?
I follow.
Okay. So then some other key highlights of expenses. We are for police and fire. We've exceeded our overtime estimates from a budgetary standpoint, but general salaries are below what we budgeted.
So I do want to comment on that one because those two are on my list. The police is at 160% year to date, and we still have 4 more months to go. And fire at 107. I know we're in terms of our budgeted number, we're lower, but we also have budgeted for an increase in the number of people on the police. So I think that would kind of offset. If we look year over year, we're kind of at the same salary level as last year, but overtime is up. I say that more as something that I kind of would like you to speak with, and I will be talking with the administrator on there because I know what your role is in reporting it. I know our administrator Freeman intended on being on this call. I didn't have a chance to connect with him prior to this meeting, so he may have had a schedule conflict. But I think as we move forward, it'll be a great addition that he joined us so he can kind of speak more to what the challenges are operationally. But we do want to monitor these numbers, and then I would ask Chris that you also communicate that those two overtime figures are an area of concern, that they're increasing. Kind of what's happening and how can we offset it, or did we just completely miss our projections so that we can correct them next year?
Good question. I'm on page right now. I'm on page 13 digitally. And I'm looking at the police department. Where did you say it's 160,000, 160% over? Where did you say, where am I looking at?
So if you look at the salaries overtime line, it'll be 86,612, 559, 671, 350, and then 159.91%. I'm thinking that's what Trustee House meant by 100.
But you guys didn't know about the police overtime. That's what was said on the news, right, Cammie Brown? How? When you're seeing it right here, you know, 160% over budget.
160%.
Okay, I see. Hold on.
Trustee House, can I be recognized?
Yeah, please, Trustee. Well, hold on. Let's wait. Trustee Steve, were you?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Have you concluded?
So we're 160% over what we budget.
Overtime perspectives. But if we look at salaries overall, that line above it, we've only exceeded 54. We've only used 54% of it. So we're over on overtime.
Karen's, did you get your package? I hope. All right. They said they didn't know anything about overtime, right?
91%. I'm thinking that's what Trustee House meant by 160%.
Okay, I see. Hold on.
Trustee House, can I be recognized?
Yeah, please, Trustee. Well, hold on. Let's wait. Trustee Steve, were you?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Have you
Yeah,
concluded?
so we're 160% over what we budget? Over what we
Or
budget?
overtime perspectives. But if we look at salaries overall, that line above it, we've only exceeded 54. We've only used 54% of it. So we're over on overtime, but we're under on salaries, and that has to do with the fact of part of it is because of staffing, as we have less police officers that we budgeted that we didn't hire. That's part of the reason why if there's no there, we would have overtime. That's part of it.
I'm on the right page 14, right?
Page 13 if it's electronic and 10 if it's hard copy for police.
13. As you're moving through these pages, just announce what you're about to go to another page. Okay.
Sure.
Yeah, Wyoming. Remember the news report 2023 talking about overtime, right?
Go ahead, Kiana. Go ahead. Wow, that's crazy.
So I guess my question is, reflecting on what is being said about the police department and the numbers. I know when we did this budget and it was based on how many patrol officers we were hiring. Also, it was based on the fact that we would receive the funding, the grant for those other additional officers. So what is the process, or how what the process of obtaining those monies back to, or where would it show that those monies have come in to kind of offset some of that?
So the COPS grant, which is the grant that we used, it covers the hiring of new police officers. So once what will happen is, I'm going to use a simple example. Let's say that their salary is $10,000. Salaries and benefits are $10,000. We'll report it to the Department of Justice. We have this officer X. We've paid them for this quarter $10,000. We'll send them that report. They'll go, okay, yep, I confirmed it, and then they'll send us either direct deposit or check of that $10,000, and then we'll reflect the revenue and up in the financials of $10,000 for grant money.
Okay, so I know that since coming in and when it was received, we've hired several new officers. So is there a time frame or when we are expected to see those funds? And then does it come in under revenue, or I guess how does it line item to show those funds?
So page 10 electronic and page 7 if looking at a hard copy. When we receive those monies, there is actually a line in the financials called COPS grant. So it will be reflected in that when we receive those funds. Now, in regards to timing and what officers classify into it, I don't remember the exact specifications. I think you can go back 2 or 3 months from a hiring standpoint once you've been approved for the grant, but the exact timing of when the officer hiring falls into, I don't know that off the top. I will look up the details to provide that information, but the exact date as to when did you officially hire the officers and when can you claim their expenses, I got to look into that date range.
Okay, so one last question, and I don't know, you might not know it off the top of your head, but if not, can you please email me the information? Is there any type of language in that grant that states that they have to be with the department a certain amount of time?
No, but within the grant, the way the grant is written is, let's say we hire Officer A, and we only have him on payroll for 1 year. Well, and then he leaves. Then you can, let's say we hire Officer B. Well, Officer B can fill in the slate that was taken by Officer A. So you do have that capability within the grant to, once someone leaves, to fill that position with a new person if that person leaves. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so I understand that. I'm just asking in reference to, so if we've hired already 7 officers and we were approved for 3, then do you process that paperwork to the Department of Justice for the refund of the money, or is that something that someone else in the police department does?
So I'm working in conjunction with police because part of the grant requires disclosures relate to police procedures and crime stats and that kind of stuff, which I have no information related to. But then there's relations of items that relate to specifically payroll and wages and payroll reports, which I have. So I'm working in conjunction with PD as to completing those sections of what reporting is necessary.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I'm sorry, Wyoming. Yeah, it was Terry Young. But, and I got this screwed up because I'll play this for you. Get it up here.
That's the concern. I bring this up in this. Thank you, Mayor. I have to say this, and I want to try to bring it. We start the meetings off with prayer and praise God and everything else, and then after the meeting starts, comes chaos. And I'm bringing that up to try to revisit that spirit that we start the meeting with before we get into the agenda, because I hope my report is received in the manner that it's intended. Having said that, we come in here every month. Our financial report right now, some of the biggest fight, I think Trustee Steve alluded to it. The finances right now, the month of May through the month of December, the deficit that I'm looking at, I'm gonna say this is on page 17 of the financial report, that was just page 15 of the financial report that was given to us this morning. It's $5.8 million. That's the concern. I bring this up, and as been stated at previous meetings, it's kind of an attempt to either gaslight the community or
How can you gaslight a 5.8 deficit? That was February 6th of 2023. They all knew. They all knew. And I'm sorry, Wyoming, that's why I got the year, because I had played the 2023 video first. $5.8 million deficit, February 6, 2023. Why did they need Lightfoot? Yeah. Yeah. But we have the financials to back it up, right? So they're playing this little game, and I don't understand the game. Because I don't understand lying and making shit up. I don't understand it, I guess. All right, back to the financial meeting in 2022.
That's all.
Okay. Any additional questions on general fund from any other board member?
Are we going through the whole? Are we going through the whole budget, or just specific items, Chris?
I had a few more comments I wanted to go over, but if anyone has any additional questions about police or fire salaries before I move on to the other items that I wanted to discuss.
I don't have no more. I don't have no more on police and fire. I have the question I have is about the media center, but you can go on to the next.
Okay. So one item I do want to discuss is the fire department did purchase new bunker gear. So those are reflected in the financials. That was about a little less than 50,000. But we're recognizing all of the expense this year, but we are using the prior year CARES money, which is not the American Rescue, that's the other money we got to reimburse for the cost of those expenses, which is what we plan to use as part of to cover those bunker gears, so that all the firefighters can get new, I think they're called turnout coats. So we are recognizing that expense. I bring that up because it's showing up as an expense this year, but from a cash standpoint, we aren't spending any cash we're using restricted cash for that. Does that make sense to everybody?
Can you repeat which fund was this?
CARES Act. So that was when we had the reimbursement for police and fire salaries.
Okay.
Okay. Public Works. So page 15 electronic and 12 if you're looking at a hard copy. One of the things that has been consistent in my notes is that for fiscal 21, we didn't give Public Works their contract required raises until December. So those are now reflective of these financials. So the board can do more comparative of salaries, comparing apples to apples, because the salaries from current year financials will match prior year in the sense of they're at the same respective rate, so to speak. So they're being paid at what the contract rate is supposed to be.
Okay. Now, having said that, that would also indicate to me that when we look into next year's budget, that that the salary line will likely have an increase because they're due some raises or negotiated raises from the contract.
So depending on when the village agrees to the negotiation of the contract and agrees to the contract, that's when those will be raised. Now, we will budget estimates within the budget, but those won't be reflected in the actual results until those raises are actually paid out or implemented.
Okay, thank you. And then also want to acknowledge Trustee Brown has joined us. We want to add her on the attendance for this meeting. Welcome, Trustee Brown. And we're still going through the general fund.
Then my last point on the general fund is overall expenditures are up by about 1.1 million, but we've only expended $59, 60% of our budget. So expenditures are up, but we're below the threshold that we would be for 9 months or 8 months of expenses. Because if we were 8 months would be 67%, we're about 60. So we're below from an expense standpoint as to what we're budgeted, if that makes sense.
No, I follow that. I would think that it looks like the area that we are below is that we have not hit all of the hiring that we anticipated. I don't think if all hires were in there, it may be a different story, but it's good that we're below in that regard. I think Trustee Steve had a question on the media center, if I heard him correctly. I want to yield to him if you had a question there.
Yeah, I just seen it. Hold on. Help me understand that 166% of the budget. I mean, I guess what was budgeted was only $5,000, but that's his salary. That's not salaries. We only budgeted $5,000 for salaries of the media center.
So that was the part-time Emerson, I think was his name, who he was paid out of that, and we estimated 5,000 for him. He was still on payroll, which is how we got to 8,300.
Okay, so there's no salary. I say the majority of the problem is not in salaries, but in other professional services, where to be contracted.
Yes.
Okay. All right. That's the only question I had.
Okay. Any additional questions from our board?
I have a question. Maybe Chris can answer, maybe not. I know when everyone else was due for a raise, we were behind giving out raises. Why didn't we give retro pay?
So in fiscal 21, the village was entitled to, there was 2 sets of retros that were paid out. We paid out retro for AFSCME Union because we didn't give them their raises as of May 1st. And those were paid out, I believe, on the last payroll of April. So those won't be reflected, that retro payout, until the April financials.
Okay,
so from a comparative standpoint.
So you said to ask me, you said go back to April, right?
Of 21, yeah.
Okay.
And then also within that retro calculations was lieutenants and sergeants, FOP. They had multi-year retro calculations, but we did recognize the retro, a portion of the prior years that didn't relate to May through October, I believe. in the fiscal 20 financials. So the auditors reflected that liability. So if we go to page, one moment, page 8, if electronic, or 5 if you're looking at it as a hard copy, we'll see the retro payable line, which is towards the bottom. So in fiscal 21, we had a budgeted an estimate of what retro was going to be of 159,000. That was all expenses that were recognized in fiscal 20, but the cash came out in fiscal 21.
Okay,
Does that make sense?
yeah.
Any additional questions? Did I answer your question, Trustee Brown?
Yes, it did. Thank you.
Okay. Any additional questions on the general fund from anybody? Okay. Did that conclude your report on the general fund, Chris? Okay, the next thing we want to move to is the water fund, which is the summary of it on page 18 if you printed it out, page 21 if you're looking at it digitally. For the month, we had a deficit, $43,405, and fiscal year to date, $211,430.14 in the deficit. This fund is one that I would say that there's growing concern. Again, these are the numbers that are being reported from the financials. This is when I got a message from our administrator. He's having some difficulties getting to a computer that he's able to sign in. So if he's able to, he will join us. If not, we will need to do some follow-up. But the overall concern I would say with that is the numbers on here reported are a deficit, and these are the amounts billed. That does not also include uncollectible amounts. So on the paperwork, that's a deficit. And I think that's the area we want to have much more conversation and focus on, because the water fund should be a revenue surplus positive, and that's how we kind of ran into issues with the city of Chicago. So we don't want to fall back into that condition. But I would ask Chris if he has it, if there's any conversations that he's been a part of about any reason that this should not be a concern or anything to correct it moving forward.
So from a financial standpoint, I do want to note one thing from a posting. So with the new software, until all of the water is closed out in the system and they run the program that posts it to the general ledger. So bills go out, and then there's a separate program that is run to post to the general ledger. So as I said in November's financials, that part of the program was not run for November, which is why we didn't show any revenue in November. In December's financials, only the December program, or for November was the program run, but not for December. So I foresee that there may be some change. I don't know how, to the extent of how much it is, because I haven't looked at the revenue for December yet, in that sense, as to that posting after I ran my financials. But I do foresee that some of the deficit for here will be decreased once we get into a consistent of it posting in the month of the financials are run. So what I foresee is in January's financials, you will see duplicate revenue, or not duplicate, twice as much revenue for the month of January than what you normally would see, if that makes sense to everybody.
So you believe we'll have, because of the last few months I've seen, it looks like about between 400, 450,000 of revenue. And your projection would be that next month we'll see between 800 to 900,000 of revenue.
Yeah, depending on what district it is. So I would say it's a higher range, between 600 and 900. That would be my estimate.
Okay, and then that would, but the expenses would not increase. It would just be.
Yeah, the expenses those don't change.
Okay, so we should see where we're at next month to get a better picture of the level of concern. And also, I would ask anywhere in here, because I know we were talking about the revenue that's the amount that we're billing and not collecting within the financials. Would there be any way that we can see a true picture of what's not being collected?
So one way to do at least a little bit of a comparison is if we look at the on page 19, if you're looking electronic, and 16 if you're looking hard copy.
What did you say that electronic, which one is?
19.
19.
So on there we show accounts receivable customers, which shows a 4.9 million compared to last year of 4.4 million. So if you use your November financials and use what the balance was in receivable as of November, plus the billing that you show as revenue, and then you do that minus the difference of what your December balance is, that would be showing what we collected. So 1 second, I'll pull it up so I can give at least a somewhat similar number. So in November, our receivables were 4.7 million. We billed this month for, I'd say 500,000 just for the simplicity. And our AR is 4.9.
Oh, the problem with this village is I put out a report. Over $2 million in property taxes have not been collected. That would help their financial problems, wouldn't it? The water department. I can't remember how much is owed in water, not to Chicago, but from residents not paying the water bills. It would be so simple if they could just collect the over $2 million owed at this moment in back property taxes from big companies, large companies, including Rogers. You're on that list. And water payments. And this is what we don't understand. You have to collect the money that is owed to you, or you can't pay your bills. It's that simple. And you take out bonds every year. I'm going to say it until I'm blue in the face. And you still owe Chicago. And this year in 2025, you've got another $4 million bill coming up, don't you? For water meters that you don't tell anybody about. So you want to talk about all this money that you're in debt with, but you don't want to tell them how you got into debt in the first place. Yeah, collections. Dear Lord in heaven. But they would have to work with the mayor to sue. Yeah. None of these people can work together. These trustees seem like they're working together, but they're not. They're not. That was, yeah, mouse toes, that was brought up, I don't know, 2018 maybe, switching to monthly water bills. The board voted it down. I don't think all of them have been installed. I can't say for sure, Wyoming. Can't say for sure. But they all know, and that's the point of it. Every last one of them know. And I just played February 6, 2023. Jason House said they were in a $5.8 million deficit. 2023. You knew. You knew. And what did the Lightfoot report give? What did it do? Yeah, that's about all they're doing. So serve save. Welcome. Makes me think of Andy Griffith. Do you remember Andy Griffith? I love Andy Griffith. Hatmaker couldn't pay his taxes, I think, regarding the water bills. They should have petitioned the state to get. They were supposed to take these people to court for delinquent water bills. You know, Trina. Oh yeah, Trina knows all about it. Trina's the one that told me about the $4 million grant that's due this year, 2025. 2025. And what about Lori Lightfoot saying, well, there's a lot of municipalities that haven't produced an audit to the state. How'd you feel about that?
So we approximately collected 300,000 of our receivable, and this is just rounding off numbers, but does that make sense as to how that flows?
Yes. Yeah, I follow that part. I'm pausing because I don't like the number that it comes up with, but I follow your math.
So
Okay.
that's one way to at least give you a somewhat tracking. Now, if the board would like, I can make that as part of something I will continually review if that's something the board would like as like an additional, not an additional statement, but I'll include it as part of my analysis. So at least give a.
I'm sorry to butt in, but So has been not feeling well, under the weather. So we've been praying for you and hoping everything is going to be okay with you from our hearts. Okay.
30-second summary of that.
I would appreciate it. And I know you do include the summary of aging for the water department for the billing. And that's another area that we want to kind of keep track of, because I think historically that one had been closer to 4.2 million, if I recall correctly, because I don't have it all in front of me. It's about 5 million of receivables. So those are other things that we want to take a look at. So I think we have work to do in the water department, will be my summation.
I would want to note one thing. On the last few financials, the AR report is of utility accounts balances. That does not reflect an updated true balance, so to speak. So page 44, if you're looking at it electronically, or 40 if you're looking at a hard copy, because that report, until we get within the new software, the archive data into the format of.
Quick answer, no. Because they've been going through this for a decade. Now, Jason House is talking about fixing the water department. Jason House, you've been a trustee since 2017. You know all about the water department and the problems in it. You know all about the $11 million settlement because Chicago took Dalton to court because they owed millions of dollars in water. You know all about it, Jason. So what are you talking about fixing the water department? The things they say, and they know better. They know better.
30, 60 days in the sense of the data that was transferred over, until we get it into where it's actually a balance that was when we transferred 60 days past due, as saying 60 days past due. It would reflect that anything that it would all be effective. The date of the transfer was October 4th. So October 4th is when the debt first started. So we would only have 6 months or 4 months of past due debt balance, which is not really a reflective of where your AR truly is. If
Okay.
that makes sense to everyone.
I'm a little bit confused, but I think that's one that I may follow up with you
Okay.
on a one-on-one, unless any other board member wanted to kind of go further into elaboration on it.
Yeah, I have a question.
Trustee Norwood.
I just want to make sure I understand. So, Chris, we are in a deficit in the water, correct?
Yes, we are operating as of December. Our financial for water fund shows a deficit. I'm trying to pull it up. Of total deficit of 641,000. That will decrease a little bit once December's utility billing is posted. But that is currently what these financials reflect, a $640,000 deficit. I do estimate there's going to be a small drop, semi-drop. I don't want to say small or large, but there will be a decrease of that next month.
Yeah. Okay.
Does that conclude your question, Trustee Norwood?
Yes, and I just want to, and Trustee House, I know I kind of think you asked, but I just wonder, I guess what you're stating, Trustee House, is that we should look into how we can improve this deficit, correct?
Yeah, that's one area I think we want, as we speak with the administrator, I know that'll be something he'll have a focus on, but we do want to get more of a firm direction on what things the department is doing to impact this number in a positive way.
Okay, that's what I was wondering. Okay, thank you. Thanks, Trustee House. Thank you, Chris.
Okay. If I can ask, on page 19 printed, it has the line of the interest expense, which is like a negative 400,000. Can you kind of elaborate? What is that?
So you guys have your annual.
Digital page 22.
You have your annual payment to City of Chicago. Mm-hmm. So with City of Chicago, there is two parts to the debt. There is the principal, and then there's the interest. So from an accounting standard, since this is an enterprise fund, which means it's a full accrual fund, the principal is offset against the liability, which is reflected on page 19 if you're looking electronic, and 16 if you're looking at a hard copy with the line City of Chicago payable. So the interest portion is what you recognize as an expense.
Okay.
Now, I do want to note one item. We pay for City of Chicago through the tax levy. So once we reflect that transfer in from a revenue standpoint, it should get to a total similar to what last year's amount was, where the deficit for the non-operating revenues was about 26,000.
Okay.
Okay, I need to go on.
One question on that, Chris, if I can, just because I know you're referencing the packet. I have things up from my notes, but I don't have the packet. The 19 and 16 that you referenced, that's the balance sheet for the water fund?
Yes.
Okay, understood. I got it.
I need to go on mute for 1 second because my laptop is about to die on me. So
okay. Okay. So having said that, I think
Trustee House, can you I don't know, can you I hear, Chris' explanations are always not the best. If you can kind of break it down in layman terms, a lot of times, when me and you go over the budget, you'll say, look, this is what this is, this is what this is. You know what I mean? If I got any questions, I'll ask too. But if you hear his convoluted explanation, you can come behind and kind of break it down,
Okay.
If that's possible.
I will do my best, I think, Will.
Because you don't know how to read numbers, Ed Steve. And what are you doing on the finance committee? Why? Yeah, the last payment for Chicago Water will be in 2028. Karen, that's a huge file that I'm sending you, and I just looked at it, and it's taken a while. I'm sorry. To the city, last year's on Earth. I long to return back to the 8,000 foot where I lived. Yes. if you've noticed, I've been a little bit irritated lately. And I can't share the link. The information I sent you, Karen's. I can't. I had to filter it through the machine, and so it's comprehensible. But it'll get there, I promise. Hopefully tonight. Why have I been irritated lately? You might have noticed the change in my tone. I didn't get very good news from the doctor on my heart. Okay. We'll try to stick around for a year. And so I apologize if I've been a little cranky, a little irritated, a little snarky. It's not usually my thing. But it is what it is. There's nothing I could do about it. So that's, if you notice a change in my tone, I'm sorry. I don't mean to be. Back to Ed Steve, who knows nothing, absolutely nothing about finance. And he's on the finance committee.
All right, Chris. I think we were concluding the water fund. Were there any other comments that or thoughts that you had on it?
And what page is that water fund on again?
Digitally 18. I'm sorry, digitally 21. And if you printed it out, it's page 18.
Okay.
I've got anything else on the water fund?
And what you're saying, Chris, is that you're estimating that that's going to go down based off of, why do you estimate it's going to go down based off money that's out there that's going to be coming, or?
No, I estimate that the deficit is going to go down because the financials only reflect November's revenue. Once December's revenue is posted after the program for December is run, it will decrease it. So I estimate, one second, let me log into the system so I can give you guys at least a semi number.
And they're still, and Derek, they're not cutting off the water now, are
they? I don't know that question, Trustee.
Derek, Blocker?
No.
So for the month of December, I'm estimating about 160,000 in additional revenue. I gotta look at this in a little more detail, but that's just a quick estimate number.
And that will come from the 600, that will come out of, we'll subtract that from the 600 plus thousand, correct, Chris?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it'll bring it down to about 450. But I would look from a standpoint of comparison for the water fund. I would work on operating income, which is on page 18 at the bottom, or electronically 21.
Does that answer your question, Trustee Steve?
Oh, yes.
Okay. Any additional comments for on this one? Any other questions from board members?
I have a question. I don't know if you can answer it, Chris. I know I asked last month from William Moore, never got an answer. What was the total amount collected, or are we going to anticipate to collect from that amnesty program? Nobody never gave me that information. If you know, if not, then I'll get with the new village administrator.
I do not know that information, Trustee.
Okay, I'll reach out to Keith. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Having gone through that, the next thing we're going to go to two items. Oh, yes, sir, Chris.
I do want to know one thing, just because I know it's an area of inquiry related to the board for American Rescue. So we have spent $62,000 of the American Rescue that's been reflected in these financials. And as of January, that cash will be transferred to fund the payments that have been made for that, which relate to the items that were charged to American Rescue, which are reflected on page 29, 30 electronic and 26, 27 if you're looking at a hard copy.
What page is it? Say it again digitally?
29, 30 digitally, 26, 27 hard copy. So we have 62,000 in income with 62,000 in expenses because it's an equal offset. Whatever we expend, that's what we recognize as revenue due to the way of the grant.
Hey, hold on.
Mhm.
I'm sorry, my child was in the back.
No problem.
What can we read? I guess for the public, what was this? What was the expenditures on? And sorry, I couldn't hear my child. My 2-year-old's in the back. Could you give me them pages again?
Sure. 29, 30
Yeah.
if you're looking at it electronically, and 26, 27 if you're looking at a hard copy. That's the revenue over expenditures. Because the way the grant works is we can only expend things that are classified as acceptable. So we recognize the revenue when we expend something that is in agreement with the rules of the grant.
What was it spent on?
We spent it on the FOIA program that the village has, and the other one is, I believe this was infrastructure. I believe this was the parking lot for Village Hall, but 1 second to confirm. I think that's what that was.
FOIA program, that's for the clerk?
Yes.
Yes.
You don't even know the FOIA is for the clerk. Ed Steve was a trustee for 1 term. And now he's trying again. God.
1 second, my internet's being a little slow. Yes, it looks like it was for Village Hall's parking lot, based on what I'm seeing here, which are eligible expenses under the grant, under American Rescue rules.
And Trustee Steve, does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay, I think Trustee Belcher had a question.
I do have a question. So Chris, after we voted on something and passed it, and you said the funds are about to be transferred to another account, how long does it take before a check is issued? I think I tried to ask this question at a meeting the other day and you wasn't privy to answer. So since you're on here, what's the turnaround time for checks being cut if we voted on them?
So as a normal practice, I don't actually get involved in the check printing process just because you guys don't need me spending time billing you to print.
Why does Belcher look so gleeful in answering this question? That irritates the shit out of me. And Belcher, you're going to be exposed for the Wicked Witch of the West or Mid-East. Look at that face. Belcher, I'm coming for you too.
Trustee Steve, does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay, I think Trustee Belcher had a question.
I do have a question. So Chris, after we voted on something and passed it, and you said the funds are about to be transferred to another account, how long does it take before a check is issued? I think I tried to ask this question at a meeting the other day and you wasn't privy to answer. So since you're on here, what's the turnaround time for checks being cut if we voted on them?
So as a normal practice, I don't actually get involved in the check printing process just because you guys don't need me spending time billing you to print the checks. I'm more than willing to help you guys on whatever the village requests of me, but at my rate, it's not the best use of my time, so to speak. I have been within the last 2 Bill Run's been assisting Jan with printing checks because of the fact that she's printing them under the new system, and it's a new process for that system. So I get involved in those. Usual process from a billing standpoint is once you guys approve it at the board meeting, the next day is the standard is next day or the day after, depending on when Jan is in the office. She will print checks and then vendors will pick them up. That's the extent of my knowledge of the process, because I don't usually get overly involved in that process. It's just not something that I've needed to be involved in, if that answers your question.
And that's a good point, because today we're talking about checks being printed but not sent out. So there was a little thing about Tiffany not wanting Chris to answer questions, right? So, yeah, none of them understand. So this is why Belcher's asking this question, I think. She's not doing a go around to get an answer that she can't get from the, yeah. I'm sorry, Wyoming, I answered your question without reading your comment. Yeah, because this has been going on, right? Checks are sitting on the desk. But, this is 2022. But in 2023 in February, House announces they are in a 5.8 deficit, million hour deficit. So I know why she's answering this question, because checks are not being sent out, right? Well, allegedly, right? Is it 589 checks are sitting there? Now, how can you, and this is a question because I don't know. If you are passing the warrant list, okay, AP warrant list, and the checks are supposed to be paid, why aren't they being paid? Because Allison Key is still on the bank account, right? And they, at this time, they have access to Viewpoint, right? So I'm not quite sure. Maybe I'm confused. Maybe I better sit in the corner with Ed, right? I'm sorry.
That does answer my question. And just to piggyback on that, so you just made the statement about the funds leaving from the one account to another. I know in a previous committee meeting board meeting, we discussed about if items are being voted on the one line item and then they're moved to another line item afterwards. I know there was a conversation about possibly putting some type of policy or resolution in place. Has there been any feedback to that or no?
Trustee House?
I'm sorry. You just talked about putting a resolution in place. That's your job. That is the trustee's job, to put ordinances in place. So why are you asking Chris if an ordinance is being put into place? And I'm sorry, Belcher, I stopped you at that moment in time. That's what I don't get. Ordinances. And we are working on ordinances. And we're going to find out exactly what ordinances have been passed through this administration.
It looked like you weren't the answer. Do you want?
Oh, no, I mean, you can't, because I just want to say, my recollection was that there would be a GL report of items that are shifted, and that will be included in our financial reports.
Yes, that's what I was going to say.
Okay. Now, has that, I haven't seen any of those, so should I take that to mean that there have been no reclassifications in the past?
I have done no journal entry transfers of any line items from what it was originally, besides the one we talked about earlier, which was just a reversal of what was already posted. but that was the duplicate. I have done no transfers from any GL line item from account A to account B since we talked about it at that last board meeting, the last finance committee meeting. I did create a code within the system so that way when and if those reports do, if those types of transfers do occur, I would print that report and then that would be what I give to the board, which I think I sent everyone an example of what it would look like, or at least an explanation of what it would do. And as far as I know, that's acceptable to the board.
So there is something in place where the board does get these. Ugh.
Trustee Belcher, any other additional questions?
No, not at this time. Thank you so much.
Okay. Okay, and did that conclude any additional comments you had, Chris, on the water department?
Yep.
Or water fund?
I got a question. The ARPA money, I didn't know the village parking lot was being paid out of the ARPA money.
That's
Yeah, that one I think it was voted out. We voted on that one. It did come in conjunction with, we'll say 15 other items.
They did vote on that. That the Belcher. I want to slap that smug smirk off of her face. I can't stand it. I'm sorry. I'm irritated, but that was voted on with the ARPA money. So I don't know what Tammy Brown is so confused about.
Because sometimes I have to go back and and recall or look at the tape to see which.
So you said we voted on it at the ARPA. I thought it was a different fund. We voted for that parking lot money to come out of.
That's the public works parking lot. That was
no, I know that one was that one. I knew what that one was, but I don't recall the village parking lot coming out of ARPA. Maybe it's something I'm forgetting, but I don't remember that.
Okay, Chris, would you mind just going back and verifying the vote on that one? Which one, if that's the appropriate fund?
Yep, because if not, I will let everyone know that there will be a journal entry report of a reclass.
Okay.
I'll look back into it. I don't recall that. I'll look back into my notes, but that I don't recall. Do you remember when the vote was? Trustee Howard?
I don't remember the specific one, but I'll think Chris said he doesn't mind going back and taking a look for us. And if you don't mind, can you provide the approval date on that, Chris?
Yep, I'll look into one.
Shouldn't you already know? This is what irritates me. Shouldn't you already know this information? And that's what irritates me. These people, Henyard included, are entrusted with the finance. Thank you, TK. Are entrusted with the finances and the laws and the running of this village. And they don't remember anything. Ed Steve cannot read a financial report. He just asked Jason House to please dummy it down for him. It's just, yeah, Chris bills him by the hour. They don't remember what they voted on. Well, no wonder nobody else can tell what they voted on either. If they don't know, and the meeting minutes and ordinances are still not up on there, how can anybody else know? I don't know.
When it was on there, and then depending on what I have as a electronic copy of the board packets, I will get back to you guys, or at least give you guys a date range if I don't have the information, so that you guys can check your packets.
All right,
okay, thank you. Thank you, Chris.
Okay.
No, come on.
Any additional questions?
Come on.
All right. Hearing none, we're gonna go the next two items we'll do kind of collectively. These items of the status of our bond payment and the status of the water bills, making sure we remain current with the city of Chicago. We have a monthly bill to the city of Chicago, and then once a year when on our second installment of property taxes, that's when we make payment on our repayment plan with the city over the next 8 years. So, Chris, if you can, just give us an update on the bond payment and water payments, making sure we're still up to date and have no concerns.
Yep, we've paid City of Chicago for their monthly services, and we've made our bond payment. If you guys want to look, page 34 electronic, page 31 hard copy. That's your profit and loss for your debt service funds. And then our bond schedule that we keep for all of your outstanding debt. That is page 43 electronic and page 39 if you're looking hard copy. All of your bonds have been fully paid, and the next bond issue payment dates will come in June of 2022.
Okay. Any questions from the board? Okay, hearing none, we talked about the uncollected water bills payment during our conversation about the water fund. So I'll just pause to see if anybody had any additional questions about receivables from the water department.
What page is the water department on?
Okay, Chris, I don't have the packet in front of me. It's generally the last page.
I got it right.
That report is.
Ed Steve can't find the page. Jason House does not have this package in front of him. Okay, chat. I need you to explain that one to me. Jason House just said, I don't know. I don't have the package in front of me. You're at a finance committee meeting discussing the finances of the village, and you don't have the package in front of you? Did I get that wrong? Please let me know. These people confuse the hell out of me. They truly do. Everything is so complicated. And I think it was Wyoming that said it. It's a small village. Yeah, Tracy. It's like, Mama Hill, welcome. I mean, Jason, you don't have the package in front of you? Am I wrong in being perplexed by that? I can't give you the answer, Ed Steve. I don't have the package in front of me. You are at a finance committee meeting. Nobody knows what the hell Chris is talking about. They can't find the pages. They don't have the packet in front of them. It's just... what is wrong with this village? Oh. Yep, lazy as hell. I don't get it.
Stated as of October 6th, it does not reflect any activity that's come since then, because it would give the board an unrealistic respect of what the financials of what your your accounts receivable look like for the various districts. I'm working on getting that corrected within the system, but that's Civic is going to have to do conversion data for archiving. So the way the archive works, which that's a little bit beyond that's more IT data stuff than financials, but that's.
They all look confused. Ed Steve is in the background playing with his kid. Brittany's, somebody said, watching Lord of the Rings or Netflix. Tammy Brown looks like, I'm sorry, she looks drunk. Look at her. She has held the same position. If you're not drunk, there's something, what is wrong with you? Jason House looks confused as all hell. I don't get it. I am so confused. Ugh.
It's my quick version of explanation. If that answers your guys' question.
Okay. Well, great. Can I ask this on? Will it also be reflected then in on the balance sheet in the water to fund the receivables? Would that be a more accurate total?
Yes, because those are just your GL balances.
So
The last page of the report, that's actually pulled from your utility age report, but difference of timing.
so what's the reason that report we're looking at is in October and we're almost in February 2022?
So if I were to print a report right now,
Oh, she was status quo when she was a trustee. She was on the finance committee until they had a little rift, Rogers and her. And Rogers took her off of every committee that she was on, including housing. She used to be on the finance committee. It was a disaster back then. Seriously.
the way it would calculate as the date of the debt would be from October 1st is when the October 1st, 2021, this is when your debt first started. So any account that, let's say they have a debt outstanding 4 or 5 years, it will show as current as of October 1st, 2021, and then moving forward. So you will have at most accounts that are 4 months past due, nothing that's more than a year, because the way the system, when we converted the data, it shows it as all of it as of October 1st is your start date. We are working with Civic, the software company, so that way the data is changed into the way it was imported, so that way it imports as to having that back data, so to speak. So that way, if it shows that, and this report of October 6th shows that it was over a year outstanding, it will show in the new report as over a year outstanding. But I'm working on Civic to create that data setup. Does that help?
So if
Yeah. Who mentioned the chat in the back? Yeah. Valeria Stubbs is in there. I know you can't see it. Trina Downs. Valerie Stubbs is asking, what is the Village of Dalton's credit rating? Patricia said he is violating OMA. He can't do that. Okay. Trina Downs. Oh, so there is no citizens address today. Why? Valerie Stubbs. When will the residents of Dalton receive another report of our water? Well, ex-trustee Stubbs, you should know, right?
if I were to reword it, the conversion did not catch up on the water bills accurately. You're working with Civic Systems to correct that in there.
Yes.
Okay, but in the meantime, we should be able to look at our balance sheet, which is on I want to say is that page 19 electronic and 16 hard copy, and look
Yes.
at.
You see, I love Wyoming Gal. She always keeps me in check, and she always keeps me at a level of, calmness. And I thank you, Wyoming Gal. Sorry, my gal. Wyoming Gal, if you ever read her comments, she's on point in everything. She asks the right questions. Wyoming Gal has watched these meetings forever, and she knows. She knows. Sorry. Okay, enough praise for Wyoming Gal. I'm just kidding.
The what line is that? Accounts receivable customers line, and that should give us an accurate picture of where we're at. So I'm looking at $4,924,715 of outstanding water bills.
Yes, I will add one thing.
Okay.
Your water bill is water, sewer, and trash. So you're gonna have to combine it between the water fund, sewer fund, and general fund. to get your true AR balance.
It was terrible.
Well, though, each one of those, so sewer has its own fund, am I right?
Right.
So with the sewer, we wouldn't combine, you were saying combine the balances from each one of those balance sheets?
Yes, to give you your true AR balance, which
Oh, that's gonna
I
increase.
will, moving forward, do at least a snippet since until we get the back schedules fixed. I will do a snippet in my analysis to provide to the board.
How long do you, go ahead, I'm sorry, go ahead, Jay.
Oh, no, you got it, Trustee Steve.
How long have you been having this problem as far as this, this dates like this being off? Civic systems.
This was from the conversion, so we're working with them. I have been, this was part of my notes since we did the conversion, so I think it would have been it's in both November's and December's notes.
Because I'm looking, the reason why I'm saying I'm looking back at the last few meetings, even the last meeting, last finance meeting, as it was as of October 31st, 2021. And then when I went to the one prior to that, September 29th, it was, I guess I was caught up. It was as of September 24th. The meeting was September 29th. The last meeting we had, I think I was in December. Last time we had a finance meeting, it had October 31st, and now it's saying as of October 6th. So you understand what I'm saying? Asking, or saying.
Trustee, my copies of the financial statements for October, November, and December all show the age trial balance as of October 6th.
Okay. I'm just the stuff that I pulled off. I'm just looking at the website, the stuff that we post on the website for the last finance committee meeting. Dates have been different.
Okay, I will look into
one says
that
October
difference.
31st, another one says today says October 6th. The last meeting said October 31st, and it was the same year. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, I will look into that. If you could send me what you're seeing, so that way I can look into what the difference is here, so that way I can give you guys a better answer.
You know what another problem is with this village? They have a finance meeting every 3 months. 3 months. They should have one every month, right?
Okay. Thank you.
All right, any additional questions? Okay, hearing none. We had 4 new business items that our administrators was looking to share and discuss with the board. There's some issues with his ability to get on. I do want to say that I'm grateful in my last conversation with him that he and his willingness to join these meetings. So I know he will be a great addition. And I think we work the best when we have all parties in there, because some questions Chris may not be able to answer that he will. So I think that will be helpful for everybody for taking their time to get on there, and we'll be able to get a lot more accomplished. Having said that, this meeting, it was an unsuccessful attempt, and we'll look forward to being able to ask more challenging but helpful questions at our next meeting. So if I hear no further comment, I will go to see for citizens address and see if there's any comments out there for the good of the group or for the board.
Yes, we have a few citizens address. Let me go with the first question, please. One moment.
Okay.
All right, address to Chris. From what budget did the repair for water main break and concrete restoration at fire department come from?
That came out of a fire. Let me see if I can get, I don't know the account number right off the top. Let me see if I can give you a quick key. Let me see.
Chris, I believe that was kind of brought up yesterday as well. Was that taken out of the fire budget?
Yes, if it was a water main break out of the fire department, it was taken out of there. Now, I know there was some conversation I had with fire chief that may have been a water main and it would be reclassified into the water fund, but I never got confirmation that was a water main break or that was ARPA money. I'm unclear. So depending on that conversation and that conclusion, then it would be a reclass out of the fire department. But I need something telling me so that way I can do that adjusting entry if that's the case.
And where would you get that direction from? Would that come from the fire chief, or you need it from a different area?
Fire chief, or depending on what the work was. So if it was I can follow up and get back to you. At least follow up to find out who I would talk to.
I was told last night it came out of line item number 01222425. That's what I was told last night. And we said public works, or is it a COVID expense as well? So which one is it? I know I took the notes from last night to find out. It was coded to the fire department, but it should have been coded, I guess, to public works, or is it a COVID expense?
So my thinking under the rules, and this is just my initial thoughts, if that was a water main break underneath underneath American Rescue, then technically that's an American Rescue expense. But I would assume that the board, because I believe you guys did talk about approving that as an American Rescue, but I don't know if that's the same invoice. If that answers you guys' question, I'll look into it and provide you a better answer.
That's a good answer. We'll look into it. That's the one.
Okay, I'm gonna read all of the addresses. Is that okay with the board?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, when water main break, how does the water that's spilled into the streets get paid for? How much money was sent to the American CARES Act in the current and prior administration?
Okay, hold on one moment. I want to go kind of one by one, because I think so. You say when a water main breaks, how does the water spill gets paid for? The village is responsible for that expense.
Okay.
Yeah. Second, what was the second question or comment?
How much money was sent to the American CARES Act in the current and prior administration?
Which was sent to the CARES Act. Chris, do you have that information?
So what happened with the CARES Act is the village first submitted payroll for police and fire as a legitimate expense, and then they received that money back from the federal government for that money. Then, since it was a reimbursement of payroll, it was something that the board decided to use for certain expenditures that they classified acceptable. Off the top of just discussion without looking into it, I know that we purchased the American. What happened? I'm sorry, okay. So I know that the board used a portion of the CARES Act money to cover the Motorola or PD radio, police department radios that we bought last year. And then the Hunger gear that I discussed today. Other monies I don't remember off the top. I will look into to give you guys a more detailed answer.
Okay. All right. Next question, please.
Okay, systems address. My question is, okay, hold on. One moment. So how much money was sent to America? Okay, I read that one. Sorry. Okay, here we go. Citizens address, when you are billed for 10 units and given 6 units, will your bill be adjusted to what you paid for?
Oh, Chris, so my understanding of that, Chris, correct me on this, there's a minimum consumption of 10 units that is billed within the water department. So if it's under 10, then there's the minimum of 10 to provide for the infrastructure and what it costs to get the water to the consumer. If it's in excess of 10, then it should be an accurate reading, provided that the meter reader gets into the house, takes an actual reading and brings it back to the water department.
To the best of my knowledge, that is an accurate statement. I'm not overly involved in water, that exact process of water, so I can't speak as to the specifics.
Yeah. Now I will say that there have been concerns that have been raised, and I think that's one of the major challenges within the water department is that is the ability to get actual readings And that's something that, again, when we talk about the water department is a big area that needs to be addressed. And I look forward when administrator is able to join us to further the conversation on what stuff will be done, because that's that area still has challenges.
All right, next question. Citizens address. Who has the right to raise the minimum consumption for 10 units without the vote of the board? And if there was a change, when was the notice mailed to residents informing us?
If the minimum consumption is raised, that should come before the board. From my knowledge, the minimum of 10 consumptions has been in place for at least 5 years. I'm not sure prior to that time frame.
Blocker, has that been changed in minimum consumptions?
No.
Okay.
All right, next question for Chris. Did you ever receive an official policy on money transfers from one account to another from trustees as you suggested not too long ago?
So currently, there is no specific policy, to the best of my knowledge, in place related to transfers.
Okay. Citizens address, do we know if salaries have been updated and turned over to the BGA?
Not to my knowledge. That has not happened to my knowledge. Chris, do you know of anything?
No, I'm confused by the acronym.
BGA is Better Government Association.
Okay.
So are you familiar with that one? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, next address, citizens address. What is the Village of Dalton's credit rating?
Chris, do you have that? I don't know. We have a credit rating with a bond rating. Might be a more accurate question.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that one.
Okay, we would have to seek that out with our bond attorneys to get that answer.
Okay. Next question, citizens address. When will the residents of Dalton receive another report of our water?
The water report is an annual report. I would have to follow up to find which month that report comes out. So that's a follow-up item for me. And if the resident would like, please email me jhouse@vodalton.org, and I will gladly have that information. If not, I'll also follow up in a subsequent meeting.
Very good. Citizens address. The GL line item transfer matter, is that policy? Is it written so that the next accounting professional would keep such a process?
So if I understand your question, you're talking about the City of Chicago transfer. That is proper accounting, because the City of Chicago revenue that is reflected in the general fund as the tax levy, which is not those funds are specifically designated by the board to pay for the City of Chicago liability. So it is part of when you pass the tax levy, that is what those funds are for. We then transfer those money out because proper accounting would require us to transfer it out. So then we go through board discussion and approval of that transfer. So usually at every board meeting that once a year, there is a approval via vote to authorize that permanent.
What is wrong with Tammy Brown? What are you doing?
So revenue that is reflected in the general fund as the tax levy, which is not those funds are specifically designated by the board to pay for the City of Chicago liability. So it is part of when you pass the tax levy, that is what those funds are for. We then transfer those money out because proper accounting would require us to transfer it out. So then we go through board discussion and approval of that transfer. So usually at every board meeting that once a year, there is a approval via vote to authorize that permanent transfer of those monies.
All right. Citizen address, has the 1,400 or million been voted on for the residents, and the business is So how will it be distributed and when?
It has been voted. The mayor mentioned there's still the details. It's been approved from a overall perspective of how much is intended for each program. The details of how each portion, meaning for residents, what the application process will be, what documentation they need to supply, though that level of details is still being developed to be presented to the board. Once it's presented and approved to the board, then it can be distributed. So my understanding is the intention is for that to be presented to the board within a month, and once it's approved, we will have a firm timeline on when residents can apply.
Okay, citizens address question. Where does water integration put the sewage they truck into the community? And how much is the sewage rate for business? And is it based off the amount of sewage?
That's a lot to unpack in one question. All right, can you break that down one more time?
I'll break it down. I'll read it one at a time. It's like 3 in 1. Okay. Where does the water integration put the sewage they truck into the community?
Where do we integrate the sewage they truck? I don't completely understand that question, so I'm not in a position to answer that.
Okay. All right. How much is the sewage rate for business?
I think that would be the shit factory, right? They're asking about trucking in the shit.
Chris, do you know that rate?
Sewage charges for non-residential accounts, which fall into the classification of business, is 20% of the gross water charges.
Okay.
And is it based off the amount of sewage?
Just from Chris's description, it would be based on the water charges.
Citizens address, why am I receiving estimated bill when my bill and always been actual? I already have a digital meter.
I would say that one would be another challenge that we mentioned within the water department. I would encourage going to the water department to work with the manager in that department to get that corrected. That should be a one-off, but I do know that there have been several complaints on that issue. So that's something that they need to fix.
Okay, that's all the citizens address. That's all we have tonight.
That's it. Okay, thank you very much for reading those questions. Hearing that, I'm going to make a motion that we adjourn the Finance Committee meeting.
Trustee House.
Oh, yeah, Trustee Norwood.
I just got a quick question in regards to that. Because I know residents call us all the time about the estimates for the water bill reading. Should we suggest until we start get the other meters that they use the yellow form to write out the number and take it to the water department to kind of help out so they have a more actual reading, or what you think?
Well, I agree. So, I mean, that would help from the water department. I think that, I mentioned that the water is a challenge, and I think that our administrator joining us will be a big help as well, is that there are several phases to it. Of course, we have to get out and read it. If they do not have accurate reading, then the resident bringing in does help. But we also have to make sure once it's received that by the water department, it's actually input into the system timely enough for it to go out to the resident for payment. So there's a few different components. Adding that in there, or the residents being helpful in bringing that in would assist with that process. But we also want to get the village to the place where we are getting the readings. In particular, if it's a digital meter, that eliminates one barrier, because the meter reader would not have to go in to get an actual reading.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay. Having said that, I'm going to any additional comments or questions? All right. So from there, I will make the motion that we adjourn the Finance Committee meeting 6:58 p.m.
Second.
Second.
Motion and seconded.
Now there I am. Long Island audit. You know, these auditors, so-called auditors. Check out a channel called Frauditor Troll. You will learn everything you need to know about Long Island audit and all of these other auditors. That's all I'm going to say about that. But I did want to bring up the 2022, you can find it here, budget. Look at that. And this is what the budget looks like. Fiscal year 2021-2022. Approved in 2021. Now, I'll probably do a video on this. Just a regular video, not on live. So people can see it and read over it. And actually see what a budget is. And what it looks like. Because a lot of people don't know, right? You know. Just kind of pause through there. It's 25 pages long. You got a whole slew of grants listed here. Okay. Building permits. Refuse bills. Huh. I wonder what special police services are. I wonder what that is. I don't know. Okay. So this is the budget, 2021, 2022. Okay. That they can't seem to give people information of, right? Let's not give information like meeting minutes, ordinances, financials. Let's have pure transparency from everyone, right? Bond loan proceeds. But this is what the budget looks like. And of course, when you're looking at this, you can always pause it and read through it. Because I don't want to take up too much of your time. I think I've already done that. I guess I was very irritated at that brawl at Thornton Township. Here's a CDBG grant. $200,000. So the budgets include the grants and also the financial reports every single month. And I think what I'm going to do is put the financial reports for every year into one video. Wow. Media Center. Ed Steve really wanted money for that media center. Wow. That's quite a bit. You got your police department budgets. Overtime. They budgeted $350,000. So I'll just skim over it and you can do it at your leisure. Budget for the police department, over $7 million. But it has everything in here, right? So why don't the trustees know what's going on? Fire department, overtime, 500,000 in the budget. Why don't they ever talk about the fire department overtime? I don't know. Oh, let me look at the comments. Sorry. Information will not be gathered while they're we are not prisoners, Conscious. Okay. Does that mean you don't mind me running my mouth? Everybody loves hearing my mom, so I might she's downstairs right now watching some kind of murder mystery. She loves murders for some reason. 7,500 for a media center isn't really a whole lot. And oh, thanks, Scott. Thank you. I appreciate that. I just wish Ed Steve would learn how to, film vertically instead of, horizontally instead of vertically. That's one thing I just wish. And why can't they get a sound system? The millions of dollars. Oh, a couple camera body and a couple of lenses. Oh, yikes. And hello to Scott. Yeah, I just wanted to quickly run through this budget so people could see what it is, what it looks like. Oh yeah. We do sound alike, don't we? I didn't realize it, especially our laugh. Just tell us how you feel, Conscious. I try to be nice, cordial, but sometimes I just get so irritated. I mean, my mother did break my father's ribs at one point. And I'll tell you the story if you want to hear it. You want to hear the story of my mother breaking my father's ribs and how that came about? So, the story of the broken ribs. My father liked to hit the bars, okay? And he liked his women. My mother had a difficult life, okay? 6 children, okay? So she was driving him home. He was drunker than a skunk, all right? And I don't know what precipitated it, but she was driving with one hand and hitting him with her right arm across his chest, therefore breaking his ribs. I don't know what he did. Yeah. He's filming vertically for social media reels, most likely, but for YouTube and for viewing on a television, filming horizontal is definitely the way to go. Yeah, yeah. Thank you, Scott. Yeah, well, everybody in the chat is very knowledgeable, but Wyoming, she always keeps me level-headed when my mother's not around. Was it 87,000? Let me go back. I thought it was 8,700. Let me go back. Oh, sorry about that. Oh, it was 87,500. Oh, thank you, status quo. It was 87,000. Yeah, so that's the broken rib story. He didn't even know it. He was so drunk. Okay, so Scott says that tracks. Oh. Let me guess. He didn't realize he never mentioned it. She didn't even know she broke his ribs. She didn't know it. She was so mad at him. She just was pounding away as she was driving down the road at night. Okay. Can you picture this? Oh my gosh. You know, families have stories, right? But I'm telling you. And apparently got taped up and never said a word. Never said a word about it. He was probably a hurting puppy, I imagine. But he did a lot of things to my mother that, you know, that's why I think I love my mother so much. She had to work. She had 6 children. Picture it. 6 children. And my father gave her $25 a week for bills, for food. Okay. My mother had to work. And she worked her little ass off too. My father, he built houses from the ground up. My mother never saw any of that money. So, but that, you know, that's just a little part of my history that probably shouldn't be told, but I told it anyways. I don't care. But this is why I love my mother so much. And this is why my mother gets treated like gold by all of her children. Because all of her children know the sacrifices that she did for her family. You know, so skip-dee-doo-dah day. My mother deserves everything that she could possibly want. And as far as that cheesecake, I did get 1 piece and my mother ate the rest. And that's okay, because she's my mommy. Okay, Public Works. And for anybody, oh yeah, I'm supposed to say hit the like button, right? Mods, aren't you supposed to be doing that? Lease payments, you know. They had a lot of leases, didn't they? But for those who never ever see the budgets for the village of Dalton, this is an example of one. Just kind of scroll through it. Housing department. Does anybody believe that Henyard is, well, thank you for listening, Karen. I like to share my life sometimes. Oh, you broke yours once. Didn't figure it out. Chest x-ray months later. Oh no, Tracy, you had pneumonia? Oh my gosh. Good grief. That's awful. Yeah. And I think my mother is the best mother in the world, of course. Oh yeah, and like and subscribe. Mads, what are you doing? Thank you very much, French Prince. I'm an open book for the most part. Some of my life, nobody will ever know, but when Mama is happy, everybody is happy. You know, she gives the mom look, and it's funny because she won't have to yell at the kids or anything. She'll just look at us, and we know. Even at our age, we know. It's She is just something else. Oh, now the Vods are getting into action. I'm sorry. My mother is a fantastic woman, and she's been. Can you imagine 6 children? Your husband is never around. Gives you $25 a week to take care of 6 children, feed them, clothe them, and pay all of the bills of the household. Yeah. So, and he built houses from the ground up. You know, you can feel that look. Yes, my mother has that look. And she has a tone as well. But, and she's Irish. Oh, wow. Sanitation. Huh. Board and commissions, nothing. Youth. What? Wait a minute. Wait. Youth commission. Am I reading this right, Scott? Is that $22,403,580 for the youth commission? Am I reading that right? Is that a lot, or is that not much? Oh, thank you, Wyoming. Yeah, that look, the mom look. It gets quiet, and you just know. Yeah, my mother is amazing. She's absolutely amazing, and she does not complain. You won't hear my mother complain about anything. You know, the water could freeze, and she'll say, well, just order some bottled water until we get it unfroze. You know, there's no, well, we had a few family homes, actually. I don't know what it was about him, honestly. He would build beautiful homes, really, really nice homes, and we lived there for a while, and he would sell them. And, you know, one time my mother wouldn't even unpack because she said, well, what's the point? So all of our stuff was left in boxes because she said, what's the point? You know, I have no idea. I have no idea. And my father grew up poor, very, very poor. He was shipped to the country on a farm, and him and his brother were paid $10 a month to work the farm. That $10 went to his parents, and they had a dirt floor with hay on it. So my father grew up very poor. Total expenditures for various commissions, it would appear. Okay. Yeah, it just seems like a lot, Scott. But I don't know. You know, my guy just tells me, and I say okay, and I don't know how they afforded the youth expenditure. But yeah, it's, you know, that's what's so easy about living a very easy you know, easy life without the frills and thrills, because you learn from your parents, from your grandparents, from your great grandparents of what they went through. And, oh, I did see that. I did see that, Wyoming. Yeah. Now, I did get the alert on it. We can pray. Yeah. Could be a total expenses for that particular list. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I did get the alert on that. Okay. Anyways, that's why we live a simple life, is because we don't. What's the point in having stuff? Oh, look. City of Chicago judgment. So if anybody wants to say I'm lying or Trina is lying about the city of Chicago, okay, there it is in black and white. You know, but let's skim through this. Nothing for interfund operating transfer. Huh. Okay. There's a loss there. Huh. Okay. Properties, police pension, firefighters. Okay. Forfeiture, expenditures. Okay. There we go. Oh, I am setting up the video for growing your own food inside, just in case, because of the threat that Trump has made. Well, I don't think he really makes threats. I think he just goes through them, right? Okay. But 60 passengers. Yeah. Yeah, that's not a lot, is it, Wyoming? Oh, off subject. Just did one-on-one. Oh, wait a minute. I think I saw that earlier. I think she did it with another news station too. Oh, maybe that's the one. 3 hours ago. Maybe that's the one I saw. Yeah. Yeah. We do simple living here. Because, that's just the way it is. If your water freezes or, yeah, I don't mean to laugh when residents say their water's been cut off. I really don't mean to chuckle about it. But in my mind, I'm saying, well, why don't you just go get some bottled water until the water's turned back on? Bottled water isn't that expensive. And that's the thing. You have to be inventive. You just have to. Jed was granted a restraining order against Tiffany and Kamal. I heard that. Yeah, I heard that. I'm not quite sure why, though. But I'm sure I'll look up the court case. Oh, there's that devious laugh again. Okay, so let's just go through this a little bit and we'll get the flock out of here. And I'm sorry I like talking about my history, what my parents and grandparents went through. And So if your water gets cut off, you know, you just get some bottled water, right? Which is probably more pure than anything else. Oh, that's the way we think of it, anyways. We call them hiccups. When something happens, if the pellet stove, you know, goes out, you know, there's other avenues, right? If a few months ago, our pellet stove, you know, quit. It was a chain in the back of it. It's an old pellet stove. Purchase of water, wow. There's always ways to get around things, and because you don't, if you go without something, there's always something. There's another bond payment to Chicago. But you know, if something happens and you have to go without something, there's always a way around it. There's always a solution. Always. It's never going to be the end of the world. And I always think about people who lived in the 1800s. What did they do? They didn't have all these luxuries. And they are luxuries, in my personal opinion. Okay. Last one. All right. Seem like an awful lot of losses we're coming up with. Maybe it's just me. I put myself on mute. I'm sorry. I'm just going to skim through this and then I'll read the comments and we'll get the flock out of here. Huh. Scott, what the heck is bonds retired? Huh. Well, 2009. These are all the bonds, right? Yeah. Cute, they call them funds. But, yeah, these are your bonds. Nobody wants to talk about the bonds. Look at them all. Every year, take them out. They have to pay interest. Oh, somebody was asking about agent fees. There's one right there. Here's the interest there. And they just pay them back with property taxes. People pay their property taxes and that's it. Homewood disposal bond. I don't know how you can borrow so much money and wait for the property taxes to come in, pay back the money because of the witch. I must have missed something. I like my history too. That's what brought me to Chicago and then Dalton. Researching my ancestry, I just got so interested in Dalton. Yeah, history is great. And it's really fascinating to get on these shows. There's a lot of shows that tell you how to do things in case something happens. I mean, I've asked people this before, friends of mine. What would you do if the grid just went completely out? What would you do? Yeah, kiss. That's a good one. I mean, if you think to yourself, what would you do at this exact moment in time if the electrical grid went down? What would you do? Do you have a plan? Do you have a plan in case that happens? What if a bomb goes off? Do you have a plan? What if, I don't know, what if the water, something happened with the water and the water just ceased to exist? You know, what would you do? Because, you know, Florida, hurricanes coming. You're not going to find anything on the shelves. I know you do, Wyoming. Yeah. But what would you do? Nobody's ready. Well, a lot of people are ready. And that's why I want to do these videos on growing your own vegetables indoors. You know, and not a survivor's type thing, but just little hints on, you know, what to do in case something happens. Mouse Toes is ready. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And you know, in the wintertime, a lot of times your electricity will go out, right? What are you going to do? Did you really? Oh, Wyoming. Can you send me that recipe? That sounds really cool. 25 years of food. Yeah. And you know, people say, well, that's ridiculous. You know, you're being over dramatic and, you know, stuff like that. But no, it's not. Because you don't know what is actually going to happen. Yeah. Big cities are going to be friendly. My friend, she's a psychiatrist, brilliant woman. I mean, brilliant. I love her to death. I asked her that question. Well, what are you going to do if the grid goes out? Well, what do you mean? What are you going to do? And she hesitated. This woman is smart. Okay. And she didn't have an answer. Thank you very much, Wyoming. I'd really appreciate that. That would be something my mom and I could do together, right? A project. We love doing little things together, you know. American Blackout. Ooh. I'll have to watch it. I love learning things. That's the one thing I love doing is learning. Yeah, it doesn't take much. Overload the electrical lines. Well, you know, even in the wintertime, tree falls down, have a bad storm, trees fall down, out goes the electricity. What are you going to do? It sounds like a lot of fun. And as soon as you send it, my mother and I will be getting out the Crisco. That sounds fun. Atomic energy. Too chicken to try it. Well, there was that brownout on the East Coast, right? You know that was planned, right? It was a big brownout. Does anybody remember that years ago? Several years ago. The whole East Coast brownout. That was not by accident. They did that on purpose. They really did. The government did that to see what would happen. They do these little tests, don't they? Oh, that's wonderful, Wyoming. Yeah, here too. You know, this is a great little community too. Mouse Toes does. We sell a lot of. Do you? Yeah, yeah, you can live without electricity. You really can. You do remember that. Yeah. They do these tests without people realizing it's an actual test to see how human beings will react. Now, you do realize there are hundreds and hundreds of tunnels all around the country that have various items in them. Maybe I'm toned too much. I don't know. Maybe I am. Maybe I'm just getting pudgy here. Okay. Should I shut up now? Just tell me shut up. Wyoming, I can't wait to get that recipe. My mother and I are going to be thrilled. And we need to contact Tiffany. Just see what the plan is. What's the plan? And I think everybody on this channel thinks alike, but with different ideas. You know what I mean? That's what I love about this channel. Hide and pray. Well, yeah, Harriet Tubman, Rosa Parks, our Lord and Savior. That killed me right there. I did not show that to my mother. My mother would have jumped through the screen of the computer. Oh, thank you so much. That's too funny. That's too funny. Okay. End of the tunnel is still a little light, but now there's a fuel tank besides the little light. Yeah. Is it her or is it just her advisors? I got a question. Did Keith Price, did he get put on administrative leave at that meeting? I really want to know. I think he did, but I'm not sure. I know more's been put on it. He didn't, which was very interesting because I wondered in that fiasco that occurred, and my mother was certainly disgusted. She was so disgusted at that behavior. I can't even tell you. But I did notice Jedediah Brown sitting with Keith Price before he got up to speak. Nobody noticed that. Nobody said a damn thing about that. Well, that I've heard anyways. But if you look at the video, he is sitting at the table with Keith Price having a conversation before he gets up to speak. Wonder what that was all about. Yeah, probably. I don't know. That was awful strange to me. Since he was always public enemy number one, right? Yeah. The most popular wig in the world. He was not arguing with Keith Price. He was sitting at the table speaking with him before he got up, before Jed got up to the podium. You know. Welcome, GFX. I agree. And I think everybody on this channel agrees. Probably poking a bear. Karen. Can you believe my mother said that? Yeah. That just told everything, didn't it? Of this place and the mentality. And one woman, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh no, as she's filming No. Yes, he was. And that's why I brought up Jedediah Brown sitting at the table with him having a conversation. That I noticed that right away, but nobody else commented on it. And I wondered what everybody thought about it. Yeah, mob mentality. It was sickening. My mother was sickened by it. She really was. She didn't call names. She didn't call anybody names or anything like that. But she was sickened by it. She couldn't believe people actually act like this. But you didn't want to be either A or B employee. Yeah. He was, wasn't he? Isn't that interesting how the worm turns? Public enemy, Keith Freeman, public enemy number one, and now he can do no wrong, right? Carmen Carlisle. Let's just forget about what she did in the village of Dalton and went along with Tiffany, but she's had a change of heart. Okay. Tiff told the news her personal safety was at risk, and she ran into the melee to break it up. That was, I can't remember. I thought it was fast forwarded because she was just a blur, right? It was just a blur of blonde hair, right? And then it was some woman was pulling her hair and hitting her as well. If you slow up that tape, you see an awful lot of things going on. And no, Kamal did not hit Jedediah Brown first. It was the SA convicted felon that hit Kamal first. Tell me I'm lying. Look at the tape. It's all on tape. All you gotta do is slow down the tape. Yeah. But now they're just the best thing since apple pie, right? Right. She repented she had a stroke about a year ago. Oh, yes, Carmen. Yes, that's awful. That is awful. And we can't make fun of those things. Flash Gordon. Yeah. Yeah. It was like a blur. Oh, was that her cousin? Is that the cousin that's employed by the township? Isn't that something how, you can get your friends and family hired? Right. Leotis. You mean Kamal? See that Leotis? It gets me every single time, no matter how many people tell me the name. It just goes out the window with me for some reason. Oh, no. Slow down that tape. You'll see exactly what happened. Sweater girl, same color as her hair. Ah, okay. Was seeing two attackers. Is that Kamal? Come on. Stop doing thank you, mouse toes. Kamal did not throw the first punch. He didn't. It was the convicted SA that was hanging around. Didn't you notice it was awful funny? He kept hanging around. That was a big setup. Give me a break. I don't care if anybody likes what I say or not. I had the pleasure of speaking with Keith on Martin's show. And he said he would not be getting involved in anything that would take him away from his family. Oh, I remember that. I remember that show. I remember, and you know what? I believe him. I know a lot of people, you know, say things, but oh, okay. What do you disagree with me on? GFX. I'm sorry, which part do you disagree with me on? I was cooking with him and he calls him Leotis, and it took me a lot of time to, it just, for some reason, I just can't get it, you know, it just, it doesn't sink into my brain. I don't know. I think of locust when I hear Loetus, or however you pronounce it. Didn't look like it to me. Quigley was holding Kamal back, so I'm not sure how Kamal would be able to. He didn't. But GFX, I'm not quite sure what you disagree with me on, and so please let me know so we can clear it up. Oh, okay. Oh, entering his personal space. Well, yeah, we were talking about throwing the first punch, right? He stood up like I'm trying to think of a nice word to use, and I just can't. But I can't think of a nice word to say what he looked like when he was standing up. But no, Lavelle went towards him. And if you look, Lavelle was at the podium, but the entire time, Lavelle was looking at, what's his name, Kamal. He was watching him. But Lavelle walked over to Kamal and threw the first punch. And I don't want to argue with you. But Lavelle did walk up to Kamal and threw the first punch, because Kamal stood there. He stood up and he was facing Brown, right? But then all of a sudden you see two people turn their heads. There's Lavelle coming right at Kamal. And you could see it in slow motion. It's really obvious. I'm not saying that I didn't mean anything, against you like that. I didn't mean the way it came out. It didn't look like it to me. Quigley was holding Kamal back, so I'm not sure how Kamal would be able to throw. But yeah, he didn't throw the first. Lavelle went up to him. Yeah. And he smokes Newports. There's those Newports again. Kamal entered Lavelle's. Well, so let me ask you. Kamal was standing there, and I have no love for Kamal. Okay, mentioned it several times. Everybody knows how I feel about everybody in this situation. But he was standing there, and then he looked, and there was Lavelle coming up on him. You know, Cooking with Frank. I don't think I've ever watched that show, Karen. I don't think so. Maybe you can email me the link. Yeah. Yep. I never went to a punk rock event. No, I never have. Sorry. The last concert I saw was one of my favorite singers, and I can't remember her name. Oh my God. She sung Delta Dawn. What's that flower you have on? Good. I can see her face. I was talking to her and she was talking about people laughing at her for having bony knees. Stuff like that. Yeah, but we're not arguing. We're just discussing. That's all we're doing. And people see things differently, don't they? I mean, when you go to a crime scene and you start questioning eyewitnesses, people have different stories, right? That's true. Very true. They have different stories. For Tiffany, it's a hard loss because nobody went helping the guy who is married. And I have a problem with that. I have a major problem with married people having affairs, period. If you don't like who you're married to and you want to be with somebody else, get a divorce. That's what it's for. What? All right. I heard that. I heard they dated. Helen Rhett, thank you so much, Wyoming. Sammy, welcome. No, Helen Reddy. I agree with you 100%. Okay, good. Yay. I don't know what we're agreeing on, but that's okay. Sorry. So would you agree that Kamal should never have stepped up? I agree 100%. That man should have sat his ass right in that seat. And I'm sure he said something. I didn't hear what he said, but I'm sure he said something. And did you see the look on her face? But was he mad at what Jedediah said about Tiffany? I mean, which my mother was very disgusted over that as well. But my mother's very, very old school. Was the lady with really here, Crystal Gale. Oh, remember Crystal Gale? One person watching the same clip. Thanks, Kamal. Threw the first punch, and others think Lavelle threw the first punch. Well, yeah, all you have to do is slow down that video, and you have it. It's perfectly clear. Lavelle threw the first punch. It's, you know, yeah, and we love that here, GFX. We really do. We love that here. Intelligent conversations. Do we have a closed caption of the finger involved? I think some people say gang signs were thrown up. I thought it was just given a double middle finger, but I might have missed something because, quite frankly, I had to stop watching at some point because my mother was watching it with me and she was getting very upset. So I had to shut it off. Jed is not from what he was, French. Sometimes your English is not good. Sorry. I love you, but sometimes Jed is not from there. Oh, okay. Well, maybe my English isn't very good. Jed is not from there. What was he doing there? Well, he advocates, something like that. She ran up like it was a flash. I mean, even at 1.5 speed, it was still a flash. Kamal has done that too. He before, and Jed knows that, and Kamal took the bait. Yeah. I think it was arranged. Did Did anybody win in that fiasco? And that's my that's my question. Who won? If you notice, the guy with the dreads took a look at Kamal, and Kamal got agitated and walked up while Lavelle was standing at the podium. Yeah, I don't know if I can get this up or not. I don't know if I can. Let me see. Who do I look for? Oh, what's a I don't know, maybe this one. Let me mute the sound until I can find it. All right, let me see. Let's take a look at this in slow motion. Okay, here we are. All right. I don't know if okay, this is gonna be the Lansing Journal, and I'm gonna share this screen. Okay, and we're gonna do this in slow motion. This is Lansing Journal. Okay.
Good evening, everybody. Trustee Everett Gray, Gray Everett. I'm not sure which one it is.
Okay.
I'm assuming.
Now, this did not show Jedediah before he walked up to the podium sitting with Keith Price, but they were sitting together chatting. Okay, so here we go. All right, here we go.
Excuse me, my bad.
Shout out to Lansing Journal.
All right, so man, there's so much. I didn't want to say nothing, but I really didn't like how you disrespected the newly elected trustee. But what I want to say is clear that you got questionable spending habits. You got a failed business venture. Your restaurant was deemed nasty. And it's proven while you talking about that education, we can't even verify yours. But since you sold for women, I really already knew about the way you handled Fania. But for you to sit up here and disparage that woman after giving her that fake ass congratulations in the beginning because you thought you was gonna get what you wanted. Here's the thing. I want to educate you. Stephanie Wiedemann is a 20-year employee, and ain't none of her business ventures ever failed. On top of that, she serves as a chief of staff, and she didn't fuck her way to the top. She's efficient.
My mother absolutely lost it at those words. That, in my opinion, was totally uncalled for.
And budgets and don't hide her deeds. She's efficient in organization. She served as a temporary interim executive director for the Dalton Park District until she stepped aside to help her daughter become something you'll never be, which is a married woman.
Stephanie Wiedemann, I like you, but I know you're past. And it's not all roses. I'm not going to say it. We all have pasts, but you're not a saint.
And her daughter moved away to Texas.
And I like her very much.
And when her daughter moved away to Texas, she went to help her daughter. But I done heard about 4 or 5 people tell me how they had to take care of yours. And so now you've been a half-ass mayor. But if you wanted to...
I'm just trying to...
Which is a married woman. And her daughter moved away to Texas. And when her daughter moved away to Texas, she went to help her daughter. But I done heard about 4 or 5 people tell me how they had to take care of yours. And so now you've been a half-ass mayor. But if you wanted to get up here and earn some respect, then you should have been able to respond to Lori likes your black ass for Stephanie to be the new member of Iris. So all those in favor say, all those against it say nay. All those in favor say aye. You go, bitch.
Okay, here's Lavelle right here. We're going to watch this in really slow motion. There's Lavelle. Here comes Jedediah. And of course, this is not the right one. Damn it. All right, stop sharing this one. Where can I find it? Where can I find it? Where can I find it? Damn it, Lansing Journal. I want to find the right one. Who is somebody give me a who is recording? Who is recording? Damn it. Oh, I know. I know who is doing it. Reality Check TV. My brother in Christ. I'm sorry. I'm trying really hard. That did not show it, and I thought it was gonna. And it didn't. All right. Oh, Lord. Oh. Oh. Sorry.
Executive director for the Dalton Park District until she stepped aside to help her daughter become something you'll never be, which is a married woman. And her daughter moved away to Texas, and when her daughter moved away to Texas, she went to help her daughter. But I didn't heard about four. They would say, you gone, bitch.
All right. Maybe this will show it. There's Lavelle. There's Kamal. He should have kept his ass in the seat. There. Right there. Lavelle puts his hand on Jedediah Brown. Let me slow it down even more. If I can. Okay. You're going to see it playing. Yeah, blah, 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 blah. Can you hear me? Okay, yep, my sound is on. Okay. There we go. It's too small. Okay. There's Brown going back to sit down. I think Kamal said something to him to make him turn back around. William Moore gets up, right? Now, there's Lavelle by the podium. See, Kamal's saying something. He said something to Brown. But Watch, what's his face? Lead us, what is his? Lavelle? Brown's going to come in from your left-hand side. Lavelle is going to hold his hand out and stop him. Right there. Clear as day. Now what happens? Yes, Kamal stepped up, right? But what is Lavelle is keeping Jedediah back. And then there you have it. Right there. Now, Kamal's hand reaches out, right? And Lavelle is just going to cold cock him. Boom. Right there. Okay. So Lavelle did throw the first punch. Yes, there was children in the building. There was. And, oh, no apologies. Oh, that's a good channel. She had a good angle too. But you could clearly see Lavelle through the first punch from this angle. And he hired him to watch his back. Yeah, that's what I heard too. I'm with your mother. I did lose it too. He was so wrong for saying that while children were nearby. Yeah. My mother was very upset by that speech. And I think a lot of other people were too. What was the point of it? That's what I don't understand. Let me go to no apologies. No apologies, right? Because Lavelle is just hanging around, right? Let me see if I can get it. Oh, wait a minute. Right. I'm sorry. Let me.
You gotta do better.
There's the one.
Better, guys. All right, go ahead, Dan.
All right, there's Dan Lee.
Oh, my phone's not working.
Probably switch.
For Pete's sake. Now, you see Keith Price there in the background, next to the woman in the yellow.
Greetings. Greetings to everyone in the building. Can you all hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. First of all, I would like to congratulate Stephanie for being our new trustee, and I commend our suddenly animated lawyer for getting in the game. You stood up today, and this is what it should be every single meeting.
All right.
If that's
More. You will be out of City. Puts money in your pocket, because who's gonna defend them? You, so I didn't like that advice.
So there's Kamal sitting there. He should have kept his ass there. You got Keith Price.
And if you are for the township residents, you definitely while people are talking. If you want to talk, get on up.
First statement is, at the last meeting, we had a young lady who got up here. Step down to that position, but we know that's gonna be wiped out.
All right. Jedediah Brown just passed this woman, right? Watch where he goes.
Thank you very much.
Right there. He sits next to Keith Price. I'm not lying about these things. It is clear as day. Region, welcome. It's running a little long. I'm sorry. Yeah, I agree, GFX. But you could see Brown walk right over to Keith Price, sat down and started talking to him. Oh, you sent me another one. Okay, thank you. Sammy, yeah. I think it was, because what was the purpose of that, right? So now you got Jedediah Brown sitting with Keith Price, okay? And they're chatting. A little hard to see because
Next person is Jedediah.
Good. See, he's still talking to Keith Price.
Yeah. Oh, gosh, what's happening here?
Now, who's this? Lavelle. Going into position. Jedediah's name has been called twice. And now he comes out. Why is he talking to Keith Price? Maybe it's none of my business. I don't know. Probably not.
Excuse me, my bad, got a little distracted. Half-ass mayor. But if you wanted to get up here and earn some respect, then you should have been able to respond to Lori Lightfoot's report about credit cards. You want to talk about them not coming to work, but we've been hearing about what you've been doing while you've been at work, and I'm going to give away the rest of my time because I think on behalf of the Black Cookout Association, that we would better take a vote, that we're gonna exchange your black ass for Stephanie to be the new member of our. So all those in favor say, all those against it, say nay. All those in favor say aye. Aye. You go, bitch.
And there's Lavelle. He has been hovering this entire time. Yeah. And he's looking at Kamal. And here comes Jedediah Brown. And there. Right there. I'm going to slow that down. This is a good angle.
Half-ass mayor. But if you
And who's this goofy guy here sitting next to the porch? He's watching Kamal as well.
wanted to get up here and
He's a sleazy little bastard right there. Does anybody know who that is? Yeah, the level with the microphone. Oh, yeah. Raging. Nothing gets past you, does it?
earn some respect, then you should have been able to respond to Lori Lightfoot's report about credit cards. You want to talk about them need to be the new member of our. So all those in favor say, all those against it say nay. All those in favor say aye.
Keith Price is sitting there like a stone. He knows something's going to happen. He knows exactly what's going to happen. And yeah, Raging, look at the microphone.
You go, bitch.
Now this guy's starting to move over. Here comes Lavelle. And there goes this guy moving into position. There's our microphone. Microphone. Here comes Brown. Okay. Now it looks like Kamal and Brown are going to go head to head, right? Oh, I better look at the chat because I don't have the other computer. Okay. All right. Everybody with me? Good. Okay. So, Lavelle holding Jed back. Jed's going to start going. Kamal puts his hand out. Who's that behind Kamal? Who is that? Who is the guy behind Kamal that Kamal doesn't even realize is there? Who is it? Yeah, there's 3 of them. Is that Quigley? Thanks, Bob. Checking the box. Okay. Okay. Right there. They all turn to the right because Lavelle is going to punch out Kamal. Right there. They're holding him. Look at him. They're holding on him. This is a bitch-ass move. These are bitches. And yes, I'm going to say it because it's bitch-ass moves. 3 people.
To be the new member of Ireland, so all those in favor say, all those against it say nay, all those in favor say aye. You go, bitch.
Watch close. Tell me that wasn't a setup. Yeah. That's right, Ragin. You caught that microphone. These are some bitches. And I don't mind saying it, and I'll say it anytime I want to. Yeah. 3. And you can't deny this. You simply cannot. Oh, sorry. I'm going to even put it in slower motion. Look at this clown right here. He's watching. And this guy in the camera. He knows what's going on. He knows exactly what is going to happen. You can't tell me otherwise. Let's lose the sound. Look at Keith Price back there. Boom. That's some bitch ass stuff. Mary, what are you doing? bitches. Disgrace. Just a disgrace. That's all it is. It was a setup from the beginning. Everybody knew it. That's why Keith Price just sat there. Not one person last night mentioned it. No, they didn't. It was a setup. Why make that speech? Why make that hateful speech? Yeah. Yeah. So that's exactly what happened. Kamal did not punch Jedediah. If that's the story that's going out there, that's a lie. We just saw what happened. Should have Kamal sat his ass in that chair? Of course. Should he have said anything? Of course not. Did he get baited? Lavelle never took the mic. I don't think anybody said he did. Okay. Yeah. You know, when you play these things in slow motion, you get a very good grasp of what happened. And who's telling the truth and who's lying. There are elders here. There are children here. And you want to pull this bullshit. This makes you look like idiots. This makes you look like the goons. And this shows your true colors. And you can't deny it. There's a lot of views. Remember, Jed was antagonizing Tiffany and Kamal in front of her house. Well, yeah. But you can protest in front of an elected official's home. But it's ramping up, right? What's next? What's to come? As LNC said this evening, what is yet to come? If you're going to come to this, what does that say for your community, the people in your community, your elected officials? Where are the police? Yeah, anybody can protest. As long as they're not on your private property, right? I mean, yeah. But it was a setup from the beginning. I found it quite suspicious when Brown was talking to Keith Price. His name was called twice, and he still talked to Keith Price while these other two idiots moved into place. And then you had the guy with the camera, right? Have we seen that footage from the guy with the camera that was standing there behind the podium? I haven't. Does anybody know who that guy is? Nope. Don't know it. When you incite this kind of violence, you're a piece of shit. I don't care who you are. This is inciting violence. It was done on purpose. It was done on purpose. It was a setup from the beginning. And Kamal and Tiffany played right into the hands. They knew what buttons to push. Same old story. Yeah. You can't get any better evidence than this. You just can't. People are going to say things. Go ahead. Say what you want. But yeah, Sammy, I'm glad we agree on it. Because it's clear as day. Lavelle is just circling around like a shark. There's a lot of video out there of him doing that. So, yeah, where's Michael Smith? And why is Keith Price just sitting there? Usually Keith Price is right in the mix, right? But Jedediah Brown was talking to Keith Price at that table. And Keith Price sat there and did nothing. You can't make this stuff up. Video does not lie. People do. Kamal did not throw the first punch. He didn't. Did you see when Tiffany wanted them to speak before they went back for private discussion? And that was why she did not want to vote, because this was going to happen, and that way they would all leave. I love my commenters because they bring new things in to the table, right? This is a disgrace. This has just shown the entire world who you people really are. All of you. All of you in this room. It just showed the world you showing your ass and who exactly you are. You know. And I guess it's probably good that there is a doo-doo factory in Dalton, right? Because this is not acceptable behavior. This is not what adults do. They just don't. Yeah. You can't get around it. You can't say, no, that didn't happen. It did happen. Yeah. That's true, Sammy. Every country fighting. Have you seen, have you ever watched the meetings in England? Oh my gosh. They stand up and insult the crap out of you, and then they sit right back down. And then the other person gets up and insults the crap out of the other person. They sit right down. But Japan, oh my gosh, Japan. Those are nightmare council meetings. Whew. Just don't report on the bad stuff. Yeah, I know, raging. It's just, you can't get away from this. You just showed the type of people you are. And in my personal opinion, you're a piece of shit. All of you involved in this. All of you. You're no good. You're no good. Yeah, sucker punch. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Remember back in the old days? Oh, Sammy, I'm sorry you got sick. Are you doing better? Prayers for Sammy. Big prayers. And I want to see him in the chat. I want to see prayers for Sammy. Yeah. This is unacceptable. Oh, Sammy, I am so sorry. I am very, very sorry. Words can't describe. They just can't describe. Well, perhaps she did, Bishop. But does that make it okay? Is this acceptable behavior? Or can you tell somebody off in an adult way and leave it at that and not have a fist fight? Either side could have planned. That's true, Wyoming. Very true. Very true. I haven't been through all of these videos. I really haven't. But I think I will. Oh dear. I am so sorry, Sammy. I'm truly sorry. And I feel blessed that you're here right now with us. And you will always have a home here. Always. And you always have a voice here. And nobody will attack you for it. Because on this channel, nobody attacks other commenters or their band. Period. Aw. Yeah. It's sad. Oh, Raiden. Yeah. To the witch on Pine Mountain. Oh yeah, TK, this has been brewing for a very, 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 very long time. Very long time. Tiffany and how she resides in her elected capacity is more socialist cartelish. I agree. I absolutely agree. We are not Tiffany supporters here. Well, there might be a couple, I don't know. But does it make this right? And that's the point I'm trying to get across. Tiffany is not a leader. Tiffany has done some of the most ridiculous things on planet Earth. However, does it make this? This is what the world is seeing right now. This is what the world is seeing. Is this a good look for the township or Dalton? And that's the thing. You're very welcome, Sammy. And we do pray for you. You'll be in my prayers tonight when I go to sleep. Constitution over everything. Did you serve, Bishop? I have a light for her. Good. Very good. I've never heard anyone say that fighter was right. Never heard it. That fight was right. I'm sorry. It took me a minute. Sometimes I'm old, Bishop. I'm very old. And at times a little slow. Straw man statement. Yeah. But that's the thing. We have to be grown-ups. Tiffany's not going to be there in a month or two, right? She's going to be gone. So what did this accomplish? What was it for? What was the purpose of it? That's my thought. She's gone. Okay, Tiffany's gone. But what was the purpose for this? She's gone. And Stephanie's first board meeting ends up like this. They got a lot of things done in that board meeting. Does anybody remember what they passed in the board meeting? What they voted on? Does anybody remember? No. Everybody remembers this. Yeah. They should all take a test before they become elected. I was born in Germany, grew up in Mexico border. I was in the U.S. I thought so by that statement. My big brother is an intel officer in the Air Force. Very good. I understand that one really well. Dad, Army, Mom, Air Force. Very excellent. We both come from a military background. That's why I knew what you said. But she's going to be out in a month or two. So why? The question is why? Jed says he knows what he's doing. Jed says he is here to cause disruption because that's what advocates do. Do we take his word for it? That's what his speech was for, to create chaos. Yeah, I hear you, Bishop. I truly do. You and I have much in common. Much. At least they got the insurance. Yeah. But not on her. Mexico has a new president, and 30 plus of her opponents were killed while campaigning. Wow. Mexico is crazy, isn't it, Bishop? Mexico is a whole different planet, isn't it? I wouldn't even call it on planet Earth, Mexico. Would you? Yes, thank you very much. Yes. Absolutely. No, she won't, Sammy. Unless they're talking nice about her. That's not a leader. It's just not. Absolutely not. Oh, I missed Bob's. I'm sorry, Bob, I missed it. That's what's bad about messages. No punctuations. I apologize next time. Just ask the question again and Raging Cajun Milo. So I know you're asking me. Okay. Jed did the same thing with homes. Yes. And you know who was really pissed off about that, Bob? Does anybody remember who was really pissed off about that? And was it right after he did that video he was asked to leave, pack his bags? I'll tell you who was really pissed off about that, Jason House. Because the trustees had a special meeting set up after that regular board meeting. And it got shut down because Jedediah Brown pulled that bullshit. And Jason House was pissed. Oh, I did live in Texas for a while. I went through training in Texas. You know, those flying cockroaches. Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I try. I don't have a mental health background. I would ask my friend, but I don't want to get her into this mix because she would just throw her hands up and walk away and say, let them eat their own. She wouldn't even deal with these people. And by these people, I mean all of these people who have lost their ever-living minds. I know they're upset. I understand the frustrations. I understand the actions of the so-called mayor supervisor is unacceptable at every turn. But it doesn't have to lead to this. It just doesn't. Holmes needs to go. He should have been arrested. Why wasn't he arrested? Why was Andrew Holmes? Why was the case dropped? And here's a question for you, Sammy. And I bring this up all the time. Because, yes, I used to be a police officer. And I can ask this question. You have a police officer videotaping it on FaceTime, was it? Of this alleged SA, and I'm going to say alleged because I don't want to get in legal trouble, okay? Of this happening in real time, you have an active police officer filming it. Is that officer culpable? What should that police officer, what should he have done? Immediately picked up the phone to the Las Vegas Police Department, said, I am actively seeing an SA occurring. It's active in such and such a room at such and such a hotel. Why is no one holding that police officer accountable? Why? He videotaped it in real time. Why has no one mentioned that police officer? And why have no charges been filed against him? And I'll say it every time. Do I know what the LSD trip is? You mean LSD and is a drug, LSD? I'm sorry, Rach. Thank you very much. We are fair. We like to hear other people's opinions here. Different perspectives, different ideas. We don't all agree, but we are civil and we listen. And like, subscribe. I always forget that. And so do my moms forget to say that. We got so interested in the talk. Sammy Woohoo Holmes is elected. If not, what authority they have. But the trustees have said nothing, and I'm not sure why. Well, I know they've asked questions about it. Why did Lori Lightfoot put that in her report? I don't know why. Los Angeles closed the case. Why did they close the case? There are cameras everywhere in Las Vegas. I'm sure most of us have been in Las Vegas, right? You cannot step on an ant without it being filmed, much like my home. Okay. So my mother said if a bird flies past the roof, it's recorded. You know, thank you, Sammy. I keep asking this question and nobody wants to answer it. He was filming an active SA. and he didn't pick up the phone and call the police and say, I'm a police officer from Dalton, Illinois. I am recording an active essay in progress right now in such and such a room in such and such a hotel. I know what I would do to that man. Yeah. Yeah. I'm just going to put this out there. Sometimes I can't use my fingers, so I do text voice. Oh, that's okay, Sammy. We have people that have visual problems, and they will type in capital letters, caps. That you're fine. You're fine. We appreciate you. Yep, Air Force. That was me. Too. Thing is, the attackers work for Thornton Township. You can't make it up, Bob. Can't make it up. This was a setup all along. It's not that hard to figure it out. Yes, that police officer was videotaping the alleged essay with Andrew Holmes and Fania Dukes. And he didn't report it until he got back to Dalton, Illinois. Really? Yeah. Is there a copy of that video? I am not saying anything about Fania Dukes. Don't get it twisted. Why did LA, or not LA, I'm sorry, I'm going out California. Why did Las Vegas close that case? With all the video cameras they have in that place. Why wasn't that turned over to the police? You have an active essay going on. He could have saved Fania Dukes. Picture this. You have an active police officer videotaping an alleged essay taking place, active, and he doesn't call the police? Said there's an essay in progress. I'm filming it right now. It's in this room, in this hotel. Save that woman. He could have saved that woman. And I'm sorry if nobody likes it, but as an ex-police officer, and yes, I was a police officer, and yes, I was in the military, as everybody heard my mother testify to. Call her a liar. What the hell was that police officer doing? He could have saved Fania Dukes. What did he say to Andrew Holmes? What did he say? Nothing? Just filmed it? Did he laugh about it as the attack was taking place? Because he sure as hell did not call Las Vegas PD and said, I am filming an active essay in progress. Such and such a room, such and such a hotel. He could have saved that woman. He didn't. What should happen to him? I hold that officer accountable. And I don't give a shit who likes it and who doesn't. Well, The officer said he filmed it. Oh, Wyoming. I'm sorry, I'm gruff because I'm angry at that officer. I'm angry at that officer, and I'm sorry I sound gruff. I get a little carried away sometimes when I get angry when people don't live up to their oaths. Yeah. Nothing happened outside of the room. Well, they were FaceTiming. You know? Jedediah Brown released some kind of audio, right? Yeah, that's a... Oh, let's get $1 million, Sammy. Let's take a trip. There's no action. It's inside the room. Yeah. Up, I hear my mommy coming up the stairs, step by step. You want to say hi to everybody?
Yeah, I'll say hi, and then I need your help.
Uh-oh, mommy needs my help.
The fire.
Uh-oh, I got to attend to the pellet stove. I love each and every one of you. Like, subscribe to all that fancy stuff that they always talk about. Thank you so much, and have a great evening. I have some stuff coming up, hopefully tomorrow. Okay, good night.